slides since we are late. This is the railway, the Italian railways, the map of the Italian railways in the year at the beginning of the 20th century. The railways were divided into large private companies, Mediterranea and Adriatica. Mediterranea on the west, and Adriatica on the east, on the eastern part. Okay, this was the map of the railways at the unification of the kingdom in 1861. So very few railways, and divided into 4 networks, but small networks. After the unification, there was an expansion of the railways, and this is the situation in 1885. At this time, a railway network national was realized. Labor disputes in Italy during the period of construction of railways, there were few labor disputes. But because most of the technicians came from abroad, the bubble from England and sometimes from France. Then the railwaymen began to organize when the railway network was completed, and they became the head of the labor unions. In Italy, but I think all over Europe, perhaps all over the world, the railwaymen feel like a big family, and they were viewed as a labor aristocracy for job stability and for the level of earnings. In Italy, in 1905, the state railways, which means the nationalization of the railways, was realized before 10 other European countries. So trade unions and political ideologies were able to find a strong root among the railwaymen. Some posters and flags of the syndicates and the labor unions, which were for the whole 20th century very strong in Italy. Perhaps the railwaymen were the strongest, had the strongest labor union. This is a photo of the strike in January 1920. I have to say that in 1905, when the nationalization was realized, the railwaymen created the first national strike of Italian history. The first national strike was made by the railwaymen. And the strike became also a symbol of identification for the railwaymen. This is a poster with the photos of all the strikers in January 1920, but they made posters for the main strikes. They always made posters for the main strikes. In the first 2 decades of the 20th century, thanks to the reduction of working hours obtained by the trade unions, the number of railwaymen increased from 100,000, 100,000 to 2, insomma, is written. I have some troubles with numbers. And the numerical growth was accompanied by an increase in the trade unionism, in strike, and in the participation to socialist politics that was unequaled in other sectors. So fascism, when it came to power, was against the railwaymen because of their red politicization. And Mussolini took drastic actions as soon as he gained power. So there was, in 2 years after the advent of fascism, a decrease of the number of railways, a drastic decrease. This is a railway workers' union card. Under the fascism, strike was prohibited until the end of fascism in 1944. The fascism hit hard the occupational pride of the railwaymen. This was a union card when the General Confederation of Labour was prohibited, was forbidden. During the fascism, however, the work rhythms were intensified, but the wages of the railwaymen remained very high if compared to other sectors of the war. And the railways were still highly respected thanks to the trains on time propaganda and the technical progress. First of all, the electrification. Domingo told us that Italy was at the beginning of the movement for electrification of railways. United States, Switzerland, and third was in the table of Domingo, Italy. After the Second World War, there was the end of fascism with the Second World War, and the train began to lose ground in the transport market. The railways were abandoned in favor of motor vehicles and the street infrastructure, perhaps more than other European countries. The number of employees rose once more above 220,000, okay, like at the start of the 20s. Because of unrealized technical interventions and working time reductions. For example, in each Italian train there were 2 machinists, 2 drivers, since 10 years ago. Sometimes in diesel trains there are also today, 2 machinists. When the golden age arrived during the 50s and 60s, in the railways labor disputes resumed, and often railwaymen were at the head of the workers' demands. Many of them belonged to the Communist Party, so it was a sector very politicized. The staff expansion was followed by a considerable loss of status. Indeed, from the 60s, the railwaymen were no longer considered to be the best representative of the workers' aristocracy. The car arrived also in Italy. Mass motorization. This is a Fiat 600. And during the 80s began the process of privatization of the Italian railways, which was the greatest industrial restructuration ever realized in Italy. From 220,000 to 220 railwaymen in service in 1987, only more than 66,000 remain today. It was in the last 2 decades a change, a a total change in the work of the railwaymen, completely different now from the traditional work. Now the Italian railways are under the state, but they are a stock company, which belongs at the moment completely to the state, but the railwaymen are private workers, no more public workers. And I finish with an image of a railwayman, Steffano Maggi, in 1988, when the state railways, when the railwaymen were public dependent. Okay, I finished. Thank you.